Rain hammered my face as security gripped my arms, walking me across the parking lot like some common criminal. Through the break room windows, I could see them all raising their glasses, laughing around her. Madison Morrison, with her perfect Stanford smile and designer suit, while colorful balloons bobbed against the ceiling. My personal items sat in a soggy cardboard box under my arm. 25 years of work reduced to this. I caught Tyler Morrison's eye through the glass. My new boss, all of 37 years old, lifted his champagne higher in a mock toast. Even through the rain and streaked windows, I could read his lips. She'll fix your mess. 25 years. That's how long I'd been working industrial safety. The last 8 years perfecting this particular system that kept 50,000 workers safe every single day. 8 years of missed dinners, weekend calls, and solving impossible logistics while they gradually cut my entire team. 8 years of creating something revolutionary. We're pursuing more innovative approaches, Tyler had announced 30 minutes earlier, sliding that empty box across his glass desk. Someone with, shall we say, more contemporary methodologies. I didn't argue, didn't beg, just nodded, and felt something inside me shut down like a blown circuit breaker. My name is Marcus Sullivan. Friends call me Mac. And until an hour ago, I was the senior safety engineer at one of the largest industrial complexes on the West Coast. The security guard, Pete, who'd nodded good morning to me for 15 years, now avoided my eyes as he watched me load my drenched box into my pickup truck. "Just protocol, Mac," he mumbled. "Nothing personal." I sat in my truck, watching the celebration continue through rain-blurred windows. They'd been grooming Madison for months, Tyler's cousin, the rising star with her AI expertise who questioned my methods during every meeting. "Wouldn't a machine learning approach be more efficient?" she'd ask, never having worked a day on an actual factory floor where real people's lives hung in the balance. I turned the key and my F-150 rumbled to life. Contemporary methodologies, innovative approaches. Corporate speak for, "We don't understand what you built, so we're replacing you with something shinier." The highway stretched ahead as my wipers fought the downpour. I'd poured 8 years into that safety system, every lesson learned from 25 years of industrial accidents, every near miss that taught me something new, every life saved because the system caught what human eyes missed. Wait, let me check something with you real quick. If this story of corporate betrayal is hitting home, show your support by smashing that like button right now. Drop a comment if you've ever been pushed aside for someone younger, and make sure you're subscribed because trust me, you haven't seen the best part yet. My safety system wasn't like the cookie-cutter programs you could buy off the shelf. This was invisible architecture that made sure chemical leaks got detected before they became disasters. That equipment failures triggered shutdowns before anyone got hurt. That a complex with 50,000 workers could operate like a precision machine instead of a death trap waiting to happen. At 58, with gray stubble and work boots that had seen better days, I didn't look like their idea of innovation. But I'd learned something Madison and her algorithms never could. That real safety comes from understanding human nature, not just data patterns. You see, Tyler Morrison wasn't just some random MBA hire. He was the son of board chairman Richard Morrison, a 62-year-old who'd never worked a day on a factory floor but thought he understood operational efficiency. Tyler had been groomed for management since college, fast-tracked through various departments without ever getting his hands dirty. And Madison? She was Tyler's cousin, Richard's niece, fresh out of Stanford with theories about everything and experience with nothing. It was a family takeover disguised as corporate modernization, the Morrisons consolidating power by pushing out anyone who might challenge their vision of how things should run. My apartment was quiet when I got home. No wife anymore. Lost her to the job 10 years back when I chose a weekend emergency call over our anniversary dinner one too many times. No kids calling. They'd given up competing with work crises long ago. Just the echo of my boots on hardwood floors and the weight of realizing I'd sacrificed everything for a company that saw me as disposable. 10 months earlier, things had been different. My system had just completed its most successful year. Workplace injuries down 45%, 0 fatalities, emergency response times that set industry standards. "This is revolutionary," the plant manager had said, shaking his head in amazement. "How do you make it work so smoothly?" I couldn't fully explain it. The system worked because I'd spent 8 years learning the invisible patterns, how equipment behaved in different weather, how shift changes affected safety protocols, how human psychology played into accident prevention. I'd coded my experience into that system, made thousands of micro-adjustments that no manual could capture. Then Richard Morrison decided it was time for his son to make his mark. Tyler got promoted to VP of Operations with a mandate to modernize legacy systems. Translation: find ways to cut costs and put his family stamp on everything. Just to streamline operations, Tyler had assured me with that thin smile when he first arrived. The board wants fresh perspectives. Tyler, with his MBA and theories about digital transformation. Tyler, who'd gradually started appearing in meetings I wasn't invited to. Who somehow had access to my system designs. Who nodded sympathetically when I worked late, saying, "You should update your skill set, Mac," while quietly cataloging my methods. The Morrisons had played this perfectly. Bring in Madison as a consultant, let her study my work for months, then position her as the innovative replacement while painting me as the stubborn old-timer holding back progress. I should have seen it coming. The first night after getting fired, my phone stayed silent. The second day, too. They were probably congratulating themselves on their brilliant personnel decision. The heart of their operation, my creation, was now in Madison Morrison's manicured hands. I sat on my porch that second evening watching the city lights through the clearing rain. 8 years of my life, erased with corporate buzzwords and a champagne toast. I'd been a fool to think experience mattered anymore, that building something irreplaceable would make me irreplaceable. But the Morrisons had made one critical mistake. They thought my system was just code and hardware, something any smart engineer could figure out with enough time. They had no idea it was more like a living organism that required constant care and understanding. Sleep didn't come easy. I paced my small apartment, looking at books I'd never had time to read, opening cabinets full of frozen dinners and energy drinks. Who was Marcus Sullivan without the plant? What was left of Mac when the work that defined him got handed to someone else? I'd given everything to that place. When my wife Sarah finally left, she said, "You love that factory more than you love me." I didn't argue because part of me knew she was right. When my son stopped calling, when my daughter got married without me walking her down the aisle because of another emergency, I told myself it was all for the greater good, all those workers depending on me. Now they had Madison Morrison, with her Stanford degree and her family connections, and I was just another casualty of corporate efficiency. Dawn broke on day 3, and I was making coffee when it started. My phone buzzed, Madison's name on the screen. I let it ring. 3 minutes later, another call, then another. By noon, I'd counted 8 missed calls, each one coming faster than the last. By evening, the count hit 15. No voicemails, no texts, just desperate, persistent calling. At midnight, as I sat in my recliner surrounded by old technical manuals, call number 22 came through. I watched my phone vibrate on the coffee table, imagining Madison's panic as she faced her first real crisis. The system would run fine at first, then gradually fall apart as real-world complexity overwhelmed her textbook solutions. I smiled for the first time in days, because what they never understood, what they couldn't possibly grasp, was that my safety system wasn't just code and sensors. It was me, my way of seeing industrial hazards, my patterns of thought translated into digital form. The system worked because I worked, because I'd poured 8 years of hard-won knowledge into every line of code, every safety protocol, every emergency response. You see, I hadn't just built a system, I'd built myself into it. Every unusual situation I'd encountered over 25 years in industrial safety, every creative solution to an impossible problem, every intuitive leap that saved lives, all of it was woven into that code. Madison could read the documentation, study the algorithms, even understand the basic principles. But she couldn't be me. That night, I finally slept soundly, phone silent beside me. Morning brought 31 missed calls. I made coffee and watched sunrise paint my living room gold. For the first time in years, I had nowhere to be. No crisis calls at 3 a.m., no weekend inspections, just emptiness stretching ahead. My phone buzzed again. Not Madison this time, but Carlos Rivera, the only safety tech who'd survived the budget cuts 6 months ago. He was a good kid, 28 years old, who actually listened when I tried to teach him the things they don't cover in engineering school. Mac. His voice was hushed, urgent. It's falling apart. The whole East Wing had a chemical leak yesterday. Nobody got hurt, but the system didn't catch it until way too late. I said nothing, just listened to his rapid breathing. Madison keeps trying to recalibrate using standard parameters, but it's making everything worse. Tyler's losing his mind. The state inspectors are coming back Monday. That sounds challenging, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. Challenging? It's a nightmare. The board called an emergency meeting. The union's threatening work stoppages if safety doesn't improve. Carlos paused. They need you. No, I corrected. They fired me. They escorted me out while celebrating my replacement. They don't need me. They're experiencing consequences. Mac, please. Real people are at risk here. That hit me hard. Real people. Not just Tyler with his smug MBA smile or Richard Morrison with his cost-cutting mandates. Not just Madison with her stolen position. Working men and women trying to make an honest living. Guys like Carlos who trusted the system to keep them safe. I have to go, Carlos. Wait. I ended the call and walked to my window. The industrial complex sprawled in the distance, smokestacks reaching toward gray sky. My complex, with its unique rhythm of shifts and shutdowns, its intricate network of human activity that I'd spent decades learning to protect. 2 hours later, my doorbell rang. I knew who it would be before I opened it. Tyler Morrison stood there, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. His hair was messed up, his tie loose, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. Behind him stood Madison, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her Stanford confidence had cracked, replaced by something close to panic. Mac, Tyler said, attempting a friendly smile that didn't reach his desperate eyes. Can we talk? I didn't move from the doorway. About what? We're facing some technical challenges with the safety implementation. Madison is brilliant, but she's encountering some unexpected variables in your architecture. I leaned against the frame. My mess, you mean? Isn't that what you called it while raising your glass? Tyler winced. Madison stepped forward. Mr. Sullivan, I need to ask you something directly. Did you deliberately sabotage the system before you left? I actually laughed. You think I somehow anticipated being fired and deliberately created a system no one else could run? You think I'm that smart and that petty? Then explain why nothing works the way it should, she demanded, her voice cracking slightly. Maybe it works exactly as it should. Maybe you just don't understand how it should work. Tyler straightened, switching tactics. Look, we're experiencing severe operational disruptions. Worker safety is compromised. This is bigger than personal disagreements. True, I nodded. Sounds like a perfect opportunity for Madison to demonstrate those contemporary methodologies you were so excited about. The desperation in both their eyes was almost satisfying. Almost. Mac, please, Tyler continued, his voice taking on a wheedling tone I'd never heard before. We're prepared to offer you a consulting contract. Triple your former salary. Just help us stabilize the system. I studied this man who'd dismissed 25 years of my expertise as outdated, who'd watched security escort me out like a criminal, who'd toasted my replacement before my desk was even cold. Now here he was, standing on my doorstep with his tail between his legs. No, I said simply. No? Just like that? Just like that. The same way you fired me. His face hardened. This isn't about wounded pride. Lives are at stake. They always were. That's why I worked 60-hour weeks perfecting that system while you cut costs to improve quarterly numbers. That's why I missed my daughter's graduation fixing emergency protocols. That's why I gave up weekends and holidays and sleep. My voice stayed level. You never cared about lives when it was me sacrificing everything for them. Madison stepped closer, desperation clear in her voice. Mr. Sullivan, I was wrong about the system. I was wrong about you. I need your help. 3 small words from Tyler's golden child that must have cost her considerable pride. I savored the moment, thinking of her standing in the wreckage of what she'd so confidently believed she could improve. Interesting, I replied. A week ago you were explaining to the board how my approach was needlessly complicated. I was wrong, she admitted, the words tight and clipped. The system is beyond conventional understanding. No, it's beyond your understanding. There's a difference. Tyler's composure finally cracked. I'll go to the board. I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I actually laughed. Go ahead. Tell them exactly how badly you mismanaged this transition. Explain why you fired the one person who understood the system without ensuring knowledge transfer. Tell them how your family's little power grab nearly got people killed." Color drained from both their faces. Tyler started to speak, but I cut him off. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave my property. You're going to go back and explain to Daddy Richard and the board exactly how you screwed up. And when the state inspectors shut you down Monday, you're going to remember that this could have all been avoided if you'd valued experience over family politics." "What do you want?" Madison asked desperately. "For you both to leave. Now." After they left, I sat in my kitchen, staring at my coffee getting cold. The truth was, I did care about those workers. Carlos was right. Real people were at risk because of corporate arrogance, but I wasn't ready to save the Morrisons from their own stupidity. Not yet. That afternoon I drove through the industrial district, seeing firsthand what had happened to my system. Warning lights blinked in random patterns. Emergency protocols fired at wrong times. Workers clustered in confused groups, unsure whether alarms meant real danger or just system glitches. At the main gate, I saw news vans gathering. A reporter stood before cameras, gesturing dramatically. Day 5 of what officials are calling the safety crisis at Morrison Industrial Complex, with no resolution in sight and state inspectors threatening shutdown. I parked and walked closer, staying out of sight. Through the fence, I could see the controlled chaos of a facility slowly falling apart. Supervisors shouted orders that contradicted each other. Workers moved with the careful deliberation of people who no longer trusted their safety systems. My phone buzzed with a text from Carlos. "Emergency board meeting today. Tyler blaming system sabotage. Madison having breakdown. State threatening Monday shutdown. Please help." That evening I received an unexpected call. Patricia Williams, the plant manager, one of the few people in management I actually respected. "Mac, I need to see you, not at the company. Neutral ground." We met at Murphy's Diner, a place where workers grabbed coffee before shift changes. Patricia looked exhausted when I arrived, the weight of an unsafe workplace evident in the new lines on her face. "Thank you for coming," she said, sliding into the booth across from me. "I haven't agreed to anything," I reminded her. "I know, but you're here, which means you still care about this plant the same way you cared when you designed a system that kept us accident-free for 18 months straight." She signaled for coffee. "The Morrisons are considering shutting down the whole safety system, going back to manual monitoring." I felt something twist in my gut. That would be catastrophic. Exactly. Response times would triple. We'd be back to 1990s safety standards. People will get hurt, Mac. People will die. The server brought our coffee. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, thinking. "I understand you were treated poorly," Patricia continued, her voice direct but gentle. "I witnessed your dedication during system development. I saw the brilliance of what you built, and I was disgusted by how they handled your termination. Did they tell you I was terminated, or did they say I left for other opportunities?" She met my eyes. "Tyler said you'd moved on to pursue consulting opportunities." I knew it was corporate language the moment he said it. "They fired me without warning, celebrated while security walked me out, replaced me with someone who spent months studying my work just to steal it." She grimaced. "I'm sorry, truly. But right now 50,000 people are working in a facility that's becoming more dangerous every hour because the system you built, the system that worked perfectly, is failing without you. It's failing because they thought anyone could take over without understanding the underlying approach, because they valued credentials and family connections over proven results." "I know," she interrupted, "and they were catastrophically wrong, but punishing them means punishing everyone else too." I stared into my coffee, torn between anger and responsibility. Patricia leaned forward. "Help us fix this. Not for them, for the workers. I can hire you directly as an independent safety consultant. Bypass the corporate structure entirely. The Morrisons own the system, and right now they're in breach of every safety obligation they have. The state has grounds to demand immediate remediation or complete shutdown." For the first time since getting fired, I felt something beyond anger stirring. A possibility. "I'd need certain guarantees," I said slowly. "Complete operational control, my name on all safety protocols, full credit for system design, and I choose my own team." Patricia's eyes widened slightly. "You've thought about this. I'm always thinking. It's both my greatest strength and why I haven't slept well in days." She nodded. I'll make it happen. As I walked to my truck after that meeting with Patricia, my phone buzzed with a text from Carlos. Emergency board meeting tomorrow 9 a.m. Tyler saying system needs complete replacement. Madison blaming deliberate sabotage in your code. State inspectors here Monday. Help us. I smiled grimly. Sabotage, of course, because it couldn't possibly be that Madison Morrison, with all her impressive degrees and family connections, simply couldn't comprehend what I'd built. It had to be deliberate undermining rather than her own limitations. That night, as I organized my technical files and prepared for what would come next, I received one final call. Madison herself, her voice barely holding together. Mac, I know what this looks like. I know you have every right to hate us. But people are going to get hurt if this system fails completely. People are already getting hurt, I replied calmly. Her breathing was shaky. I accessed your personal files trying to understand the system better. I found your notes about the workers, about their families, about how you designed specific protocols because you knew Jim in Section C had back problems, or how you adjusted timing in the West Wing because Maria always arrived 10 minutes early. I said nothing. You didn't just build a safety system. You built protection for people you actually cared about, and I destroyed it because I thought I was smarter than you. For the first time, I heard genuine remorse in her voice. Not panic about her career, not fear of family disappointment. Actual understanding of what she'd damaged. Yes, I said simply. You did. Will you fix it? Please? I'll be at the board meeting tomorrow, I told her. But not to save you. To save them. The Morrison Industries boardroom was tense when I arrived the next morning. I'd dressed carefully, my best suit, the one I'd worn to my daughter's wedding when she finally forgave me enough to invite me. Richard Morrison sat at the head of the table, his face granite. Tyler fidgeted with papers. Madison stared at her folded hands. Gentlemen, Richard began, then noticed me entering. Mr. Sullivan, I wasn't expecting you. Patricia Williams hired me as an independent safety consultant, I replied, taking a seat. The state requires immediate remediation or shutdown. Tyler shot up. You can't just... Actually, I can. I pulled out the contract Patricia and I had finalized that morning. Emergency safety consultant with full operational authority during crisis situations. Signed by your plant manager and approved by state regulators. Richard Morrison's face darkened. This is highly irregular. So was firing the creator of a proprietary safety system without ensuring operational continuity, I replied evenly. For the next hour, I listened to Tyler blame everyone but himself, watched Madison struggle to explain failures she didn't understand, and observed Richard Morrison realize his family's power play had backfired catastrophically. The system is fundamentally flawed, Tyler insisted. We need complete replacement. No, I said, standing up. The system is fundamentally sound. The operators are fundamentally incompetent. I walked to the presentation screen and pulled up the system logs I'd been analyzing all night. Here's what happened. Madison tried to optimize my adaptive protocols using standard algorithmic approaches. She treated a living system like a static machine. Every improvement she made created cascading failures because she didn't understand the underlying relationships. I clicked to the next slide, showing injury rates over time. For 18 months under my management, 0 fatalities, 45% reduction in injuries, emergency response times averaging 3.2 minutes. In the 5 days under Madison's management, 1 serious injury that should have been prevented, 3 chemical leak incidents, response times averaging 8.7 minutes. The room was dead silent. The choice is simple. You can keep pretending this is about innovation and family loyalty while workers get hurt. Or you can accept that some expertise can't be replaced by credentials and good intentions. Richard Morrison finally spoke, his voice tight. What are your terms? Full operational control of safety systems. My team, my protocols, my way. Tyler and Madison are removed from any safety-related decisions, and I want a public acknowledgement that the system failures were due to mismanagement, not design flaws. That's unacceptable, Tyler sputtered. I'm VP of Operations. You're a VP who nearly killed workers because you couldn't admit you were wrong, I cut him off. Your operation, your responsibility, your failure? Richard looked at his son with something approaching disgust. Tyler, you're reassigned to corporate development, effective immediately. Madison raised her head. Mr. Sullivan, what about me? I studied Tyler's cousin, this young woman who'd been so confident she could improve on my work. You'll transfer to a different department. Maybe spend some time learning how industrial facilities actually work before you try to revolutionize them again. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry for what I did to you. The meeting ended with me holding all the cards I'd been dealt with none of 6 days earlier. But the real satisfaction came 3 hours later when I walked back onto the factory floor wearing my old safety gear. Carlos saw me first. Mac, thank God you're back. Word spread quickly. Workers who'd been walking on eggshells for days suddenly stood straighter. Supervisors who'd been improvising safety protocols finally had their expert back. The union rep, a tough woman named Rosa, actually smiled when she saw me. Never thought I'd be so happy to see your ugly face, she said, shaking my hand. It took 2 days to fully restore the system, not just the technical fixes, but rebuilding the confidence and trust that made it work. By Monday morning, when state inspectors arrived, everything was running smoother than it had in months. The inspectors spent 4 hours reviewing logs, interviewing workers, testing protocols. Their final report was simple. All safety standards exceeded. Facility cleared for full operation. That afternoon, Patricia found me in my old office, which I'd quietly reclaimed. The board approved your permanent consulting contract, she said. Double your old salary, full autonomy, your own team budget. I nodded, looking out at the factory floor where 50,000 people worked safely, because I'd refused to let family politics destroy what I'd built. The revenge I'd imagined, watching the Morrisons fail, proving they needed me, had happened exactly as I'd hoped. But the real satisfaction wasn't their humiliation. It was the knowledge that experience still mattered, that competence could triumph over connections, and that sometimes the best way to get revenge is simply to be irreplaceable. Tyler Morrison was transferred to a corporate desk job where he couldn't hurt anyone. Madison took a position in data analysis, far from anything involving real-world safety. And Richard Morrison had to explain to other board members how his family's power grab had nearly destroyed the company's most critical operation. As for me, I went back to doing what I did best, keeping people safe, and proving that 25 years of experience isn't something you can download or delegate. Sometimes the old ways really are the best ways.